Hi everyone, Max here. You may know me better as Unirox13 on the IJDB Juggling Forum. I'm here today to do a review, overview, tutorial type thing on 4 different sets of Russian balls that I've made. Because of the detail that I want to go into here, I'm going to break this up into 3 parts, I believe. This first part, I'm going to go into some detail on the filler and the method I used for making a couple of the balls. This next part is going to be a review of the 2 Russian style balls that I've made using street hockey balls. And the third part of the video is going to be a review of the fill your own Russian balls from RenegadeJuggling.com, which are actually made by Play. And then some that I've made using MMX1 juggling ball shells. Took the filler out of those and made those. So, first part, let's get into this. The filler that I used is a wonderful, wonderful concoction called sandblasting sand, or crushed aluminum oxide. It's incredibly fine, and very, very dense, so it doesn't take much to add weight. In fact, this half tablespoon that I have full here weighs about 14 grams. So it doesn't take much at all to add weight to your ball, which is a good thing because the props that I've used as my shells for these have larger, thicker diameters of the actual shell itself. So the shell weighs a little more. But I've found the weight of the ball versus the weight of the filler doesn't have as much effect on the Russian feel as the volume of the ball that you fill. If you fill more than about 1/3 of the volume of the ball, it loses that Russian feel because there's not nearly as much weight at the bottom of the ball. It's higher up because of how it gets wider as it goes up. Spheres are funny things like that. So this stuff is great. It's a trifle expensive depending on how much you want to get. I lucked into some at my local hardware store. They had busted bags they were willing to sell me for a good deal, so I took it. I've got tons. It's going to last me for a long time and will be my filler for as far into the future as I can see. The one thing I do need to mention here is because this isn't rocks or anything like that, breathing it is not a good idea. It will do terrible, terrible things to your throat and your lungs if it makes it that far. So use it with caution, and breathing in its vicinity is fine, but don't stick your nose down there and take a big sniff. It probably wouldn't do you too well. Because of how fine that is, I didn't need a terribly large opening to fill these balls. So what I did is at the same hardware store, they sell supplies for oil lamps. One of those supplies being teeny tiny funnels. I don't know if you can even see the hole there. Yeah, there it is. Itty bitty hole. I got these, a 2-pack, and took one of them and cut a portion of the tube off so that the hole was slightly larger so the sand would flow a little easier. You can see the hole's a little bigger there. Then I took an X-Acto knife and just kind of bored out the hole some so it had a little more room to flow. And then I took my prop, and if you can see here, I've actually cut this one in half, but this is a Milek cold weather street hockey ball. These, while it looks rubber, it's not. It's actually rotary molded PVC. Because of that, the internals of the ball will have slight differences in thickness, but so far I haven't found that it makes a big difference in the feel of the ball. To fill these, I took I believe it's a number 8 drill bit. Size here isn't too terribly important, just so long as your funnel will fit inside the hole that you drill. I liked a nice snug fit because I didn't want a huge hole in these. So there you can see the size of the hole that I drilled. Again, not very large at all. Big enough to get the task done. The funnel will fit right inside of that. Nice snug fit. And then to plug this hole, because the PVC is somewhat rigid, I mean it has plenty of give to it, and you'll see that in the review of these actual balls, I decided not to go with a glue or a hot filler. I actually used what are called socket set screws. And these are itty bitty. This one's actually larger than the one that I used to fill the ball with, but just for showing purposes here, it makes it easier to show up on camera. And the way these work is the socket set screw with a hex head Allen wrench fits inside of that, so these can fit flush to whatever you're screwing them into, which makes great for these because I didn't want any head of the screw sticking out of the top. So after drilling my hole, filling it to the desired weight, I just take this and you put a little pressure there to get it started, and then boom, it threads right in. I threaded it to about flush, and there you see, it goes flush on about either side. It didn't need to stick down into the ball any because it would just get in the way. For this first set that I made, I chose not to add any glue. You could very easily put a couple dots of super glue. Most of your regular super glues will melt PVC that's been melted and remolded. So if you're going to put glue in a set of these, be sure that it's made for PVC. Otherwise you will have issues. But you could put a dot of glue in there, let it begin to get tacky, almost solid, and then screw that in there. I just wanted to see if this socket set screw would hold and keep the filler that I've put in there from coming out. So far it has. If I choose to put a ton of pressure on here, I can actually sort of kind of pop this out. But, I mean, it takes more effort than I'm willing to put into it right now to actually pop it out of there from the ball side. I think it's a great way to plug this, and I think that these props that I've made are very, very, very well done. They still have a lot of the Russian feel, and I'll go more into that in part 2.